What's up, Internet? We are here with only a few more minutes left in the day. That is intentional. See, tomorrow I have got to go get a flu shot, and in addition to basically being a giant wimp and hating flu shots in pretty much all respects, and shots in general, I also tend to take them really, really, really badly. So I'm not sure how I'm going to react to that, so I might not just be able to do this tomorrow. So we're doing sort of a 2-day thing on a technicality because there's only like 3 days left in the day. Sorry, but this was all I could think of to sort of get my bases covered just in case. So that's sort of what we're doing today. Anyway, let's go to the next town over and at least wander around and fish for a little bit or something. I don't really have a plan or anything, but we'll see if we can get something interesting done. If nothing else, we're buying more Halloween candy. That much I can at least be sure of, because we do, in fact, actually have to, stock up on that stuff. As it's sort of important that we do that thing. Come on, let's go train. Let's go do some train stuff. Like hurrying slowly away from where we live to a place we just sort of hang out a bunch because it's at a slightly nicer time zone than where we currently live. Also, apparently we're falling back on Sunday, which I guess is... I'm guessing next Sunday. I don't think they just spring that on us, although I tend to not pay attention to time zone changes until well, my clocks automatically do it anyway. But I would assume they give you like a week's notice in game, so... Unless, of course, apparently we're like an hour ahead or behind or however that works right now, and I just don't even realize it. My clocks haven't done that yet. Yeah, that's the weird thing I don't understand, is they tend to do that time change thing at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or sometimes 3, depending on like your clock, but not directly at midnight, which is a little odd, I find anyway. I'm not sure what the exact logic behind that is, but it's something I find a little odd. It's raining, so we'll probably find some gyroids in the near future. That's always nice. Alright, Mr. Nook, I've got some things to sell. Not much, but some things. Like this, and this, and this. For 392 bells. Let's see if you've got anything for sale that I want to get. Other than, of course, candy for the future. I like this shirt. I think we have it in our inventory or catalog already. But just for the sake of getting more tickets, we're gonna buy it anyway. Also, in another case of Animal Crossing just being a little peculiar, you can buy a pet bird. That is not a person, just a pet. Again, Animal Crossing is a little strange at times. Still have candy to buy, so we'll do that later. But it is raining, so I think if nothing else, I want to try and see if we can catch a coelacanth. Because, of course, that is something we can do. Like that. Alright, so let's see if we can find some coelacanths to fish up. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. There it is. The boxes on some of this stuff are a little peculiar. But what can you do? There's another one. Let's get rid of this. Alrighty. So, gotta go find ourselves some coelacanths, maybe. At least that gives us some kind of definitive goal for what we're trying to do, other than just buy Halloween candy for the Nebulous event at the end of the month. That's probably a sea bass, but it looks like it's moving a little bit too fast for one. I know it's not a coelacanth for sure. No, it is definitely a sea bass. The worst fish in the game. But at least now we know. It's definitely a sea bass. Like, that's the thing, I'm not 100% sure on the overall profile of the snappers and knife jaws, so it could maybe be those as well. Like, the sea bass have a tendency to have a pretty wide range of size as well, so I think we should go talk to Copper at some point. Okay, that could very well be a coelacanth. What can we do about you? One. We have one living fossil. That's like 15,000 bells right there. Not too bad. It's a good way to spend your rainy days. It's just starting. That's basically how Animal Crossing is going. Oh no, not Katrina. Katrina's like the worst special villager we can get. But basically we're just playing it today, trying to cross the date over so I don't have to necessarily do it tomorrow. Just on the off chance I happen to have a really bad reaction to a flu shot. Because I do not like shots and I always take them rather poorly. My last day for the year will be the 31st of December. I started January 1st, so we'll probably do this pretty much until like the morning of the 1st of January 1st, and then I'm not sure after that. There's another coelacanth, that's gotta be one. Two. So that's like 30,000 bells right there. Not bad for like 5 minutes of effort. 5 minutes might be a stretch. A very small amount of effort. That's a really thin fish. There's no way that's anything other than a sea bass, but sea bass tend to not be, yeah. Like I said, they've kind of got a really wide profile for what they could be. Oh well. That is definitely a sea bass. Where's the fish on this acre? There's always a fish. There's never not a fish. Ah, it's a tiny little sea bass. No thanks. Now this could be an acre that has an instance of no fish just by virtue of the fact that it's a split acre, but still. Oh yeah? I can't say I'm familiar with that particular thing. I'm not familiar with Hermetacraft. I think that's how you say that. That's probably a sea bass, but that could be a snapper, maybe? Let's find out. I caught the beach. It wasn't what I was intending when I threw that out there, but I caught it all the same. You know, it would just be nice to be able to definitively look out there and say, okay, that is definitely not a knife jaw or a snapper. That's a snapper. That one looked like a sea bass, but maybe a little thinner. But it's, again, really hard to tell with these guys. I think that's a sea bass right there, so I'm not going to bother. Ah. So it's a Minecraft type of thing. I guess I could have figured that out from the name. Although I know of one or two things that have a similar name to Minecraft that are completely different things. Like there's a Pokemon style game that's got a similar name to Minecraft. I do not play a lot of Minecraft myself. I find it fun, but it's just one of those things I just don't have a lot of time for. That, and as someone who plays pretty much entirely console, that would require me to play like an inferior version at all times. That and, you know, I played Minecraft pretty much from the start when it was publicly available. And, you know, through one of the earliest updates, I lost like one of the coolest designed worlds ever, and I just... for some reason, I just never bounced back. Like, I could never find another randomly generated world that had half as much personality as the world I started with. Let's take a look at that JPEG. Whoa. I do kind of like the idea of building, like, fortresses into natural, like, giant walls and stuff like that. That's how I always worked in Minecraft. Like, I didn't like big, grandiose projects for the sake of projects. I like to have, like, giant hidden bases, though. Stuff like that's really cool to me. I think this is probably a sea bass, but let's try and catch it anyway. Might be a snapper, who knows. Well, that's pretty cool, I have to admit. Come on, fish. You look slightly bigger than a sea bass. You might be a snapper. You're a sea bass. Curse you and your sea bassness. We got room for one more fish. Let's catch this guy and go to the nooks. And we will reset our inventory. Knife jaw. But that could very clearly have been just a sea bass based on the size. Like, there's just no real way of telling. And I don't like that there's no real definitive way. It just adds to how obnoxious sea bass tend to be, I guess. Huh. Well, I have noticed that, like, everyone who plays Minecraft tend to have different ways of building stuff. Sell all this crap. Make almost 40,000 bells. Yeah, that's not too bad. For 13 minutes. Alright. Let's go back and see if we can catch some more, because seriously, given the fact that beetles are no longer available to us, this is going to be the most profitable way to do anything in this game at this point. Which isn't necessarily a good thing, given that it's based entirely on randomness, but... there certainly could be worse ways to make money in Animal Crossing. It looks like it's too small to be a coelacanth, but it's gotta be too big to be a sea bass. Come on. I gotta admit, I pressed the A button way too soon. I'm just glad my controller didn't read the input, or that would have cost me that fish. So we've got 3 coelacanths in the past 15 minutes. Well, it's still pretty cool to see how You know, you can take a very basic structure and develop it into your own personal thing. I'd certainly be interested to see what you do with it. That's a sea bass. Ah. And all these stupid sea bass are gonna make me second guess myself as to like what's not a sea bass. Just because they've got such a wide variance for what their shadow could potentially be. Oopsie, I don't want that shell. Got it now. That might not be a sea bass. Let's find out. Snapper. That seemed a little bit smaller than a sea bass, but I might be wrong about that. That one might also be similar profile, but it is a sea bass. It's really hard to find like definitive rules for these stupid fish. That's pretty cool though. You know, it's very interesting to see how different people try and build stuff, especially given that some people definitely prefer certain environments before they start building as well. That's a sea bass for sure. That looks a little big to be a sea bass. That could be a knife jaw, maybe. Nope. Still. Managed to catch 3 coelacanths in about 15 minutes. That's not bad. Oh, that's another one. Ah. Well, I was bound to miss one anyway. I think working with a set theme just like designated by others, that makes things a little bit awkward. Like especially working with a theme like pirates, I'm not sure how you'd end up making that work with like a land-based system like that. I mean, I can see the value in setting limitations because limitations end up breeding creativity, but at the same time, you know, setting yourself up with a set theme as designated by someone else, I don't necessarily like that idea. I like to have at least some degree of control, though, over stuff. Well, that's not necessarily very good. If you're the only one working on it while no one else is there, isn't that basically like, I don't know, forced labor? Only minus you don't get like a pay cut at the end of the day or something. I don't know, when I played Minecraft, like the only person I played with, because I don't do things multiplayer, was a college buddy of mine. And it would always frustrate him because he always wanted to build like these big grandiose bases together, and what I would do is figure out where he was building his base, and then I would march to like the exact opposite side of the world just to build my own thing. It's because that's how I played that game myself. Like I wasn't opposed to like having a set team base or something, but I wanted my own specific location. That's just how I always built it. It would usually involve like some kind of like natural hidden environments and a ton of like crazy death traps. I wouldn't say I was avoiding him or anything. It's just, you know, that's how I like to do it. You know, the thing that really annoys me though is, again, we're kind of limited with console. We haven't done this together in probably 2 years or so, just because, well, he's busy with his uni work and stuff, and he hasn't upgraded his equipment any. But he decided he wanted to be the person who hosted, and because we're on console, we can't share save data, so pretty much everything I worked on, and I really liked our first town, mind you. I was really proud of my idea and what I came up with. It was just gone, and there wasn't much I could do about it, and I never liked that. And because the way it was set up, even though, like, even though he was even willing to, like, let me borrow his profile or whatever on my Xbox, just to, like, import the save data or whatever, if you didn't have his account, like, live when you were trying to activate the save data every time you went in, you couldn't actually use it because it was, like, tied to your profile or whatever. That is such an awful system. And apparently the only way to get around that is to, like, take it, remove it with, like, a off machine storage device, and then, like, put it into some, like, randomized program that, like, scrubs any sort of profile data off of it, which could actually, like, void your Xbox, apparently. That kind of sucks, because I really liked some of the stuff we designed. We had, like, this really nice, he had, like, this forest base, I had, like, this sort of, like, hidden temple in the desert with, like, this giant flame fence that you could only get in with, like, this secret leap of faith type of thing I'd come up with. Like, it took a lot of actual, like, background information and testing to figure out how to actually properly build this thing. I was so proud of it, and now I can't play that, and it makes me sad. On top of that, you know, every console, I don't know about every console, I shouldn't say every console, but at least when it comes to the Xbox, there's now 2 versions of Minecraft. You got, like, the original one that I started with that you can't even get anymore, apparently. And apparently if I delete the digital one off my Xbox One, I can't re-download it either. They've got, like, this bizarre one that's, like, apparently you had to pay for it, but it's, like, also filled with microtransactions, and it's really just weird. And they cut half the content from, like, the original version. It's like, what is this mess? But the version I play doesn't get updates or anything anymore, so I can't even enjoy it there. And, you know, going back to my Subnautica review on my main channel, you know, that was one thing I never liked about that game, was it was a game that would never really get out of, like, beta or anything. And yet it would constantly be updated, so what you had was basically worthless and you had to constantly start over. I couldn't stand that stuff. Yeah, it's, well, it's, as far as I know, it's just a system thing as dictated by Microsoft more than, you know, the developers or anything. But it's really crap that even when I have pretty much everything I would need theoretically to put the save on my system, and I indeed have the save on my system, there's nothing I can do to access it. I don't like that. I want to enjoy the world I built because I was really proud of it. It was, again, next to the original world I was in back when I started Minecraft, back when, you know, it was first publicly available, it was like the second nicest world I'd ever been in. And it's just, it's gone, and all the hundreds of hours I put into building something really cool, I just can't get back, and I can't visit again. It's a bizarre choice for how they decided to set up the system. And unfortunately, we all get to sort of suffer because of it. I kind of do appreciate that apparently the Nintendo Switch version is multiplayer compatible with the Xbox One. version. I kind of like that that's just a thing that can happen now. Of course, the PlayStation version, as I recall, is not, because Sony are just kind of dicks like that, but still. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think they are compatible on paper, but there's... like, even on the same system, there's so much, like, metadata involved that they just fundamentally refuse to be accessed. Unless it's, like, under the exact conditions they were created. I mean, even trying to recreate the same world using, like, the same seed and stuff, every time it gets updated, the way the generator reads seeds and stuff changes as well, as I understand it. So, you basically can't create the same world twice, even if you use the exact same identifiers, which kind of defeats the entire purpose of being able to do that in the first place. It's a really odd thing to do. Come on, something that's not a sea bass. Got a sea bass. And then I think the newer version of Minecraft was originally supposed to be compatible with, like, saves from the older, now current gen version or whatever that's no longer available. But I think that was only over the course of, like, the first month of play or something like that. After that, it's just no longer an option you can take part in. Come on. Damn it. Yeah, I never bought the PC version. I got to play it back when it was publicly available for the first time, which was free. Like in pre-alpha or whatever. Oh, we got a gift from the Sky Gods. It is probably going straight out to sea. No, it's not. Is it going to land in the first tree? Yes, it is. Awesome. But, I never actually paid for a PC version. My brother did. So I got to play a little bit through him. But for the most part... oh, we got a cactus. Sky cactus. You know, I absolutely hate the way they've done the balloon system in this game. I mean, it's basically the same as any other Animal Crossing game, but at least in those games you can personally affect it, you know, coming to Earth. Whereas otherwise, you have to literally just pray it hits something, and, like, the weird hitbox on it just decides to be nice to you. And that's why they invented slingshots for Animal Crossing. Not just because it lets you screw with Gulliver. Although, you can do that too. And that's how you get Metroids. We have not seen a coelacanth in a while. That fish is too small. Alright, well, let's go into your pockets and try again. I mean, we've caught 3 so far. That's not bad. We missed 1, but still. Running into 4 in, you know, 30 minutes, that's not too shabby. Alright. On the bright side, all my data off my SD card should be finished transferring, like, the next 12 hours. The sad thing is it's only, like, I think maybe, like, not even 50 megabytes of information left, but it's still saying it takes, like, 24 hours. Moving information off a broken SD card is weirdly complicated. The weird thing, though, with that was, you know, I tried to do it based on folder size, and then I kind of got impatient for the last one, and I just selected all the remaining folders and just tried to dump it onto my hard drive. And that seemed to happen slightly faster, even though it was a bigger amount of data and files than the smaller ones. Really bizarre. I have no idea why that works the way it does. Well, it's important to sometimes take a break. Not focus on necessarily problems and stuff that you're coming into on any project, because that gives you moments where you ultimately can problem solve without focusing on it. I find when I run into a problem or end up getting overly stressed about a singular project, the moment I try to do something else and not think about it, then the solution comes way easier to me. That was probably a knife jaw or something. It's weird how the human brain works like that. That is not the fish I want to catch. It's probably a sea bass, but let's try anyway. For the sake of it not being a sea bass. And it wasn't. We got a snapper. Nice. Yeah, we made some decent bells overall. That's probably a sea bass, but let's try anyway. I just wish it was a little easier to tell the difference between sea bass and other things over here. But sea bass are just tricky like that. Come on, fishy fish. Come on, fishy fish. Another sea bass. Ugh. And then once my files are finished transferring, I gotta put a bunch of videos live, but because of the way my computer's apparently handling the data off this thing, it's just taking up so much resources just to get this minor amount of data off that I can't even really do much other than stream. I can't edit anything. I've been able to put up a video all week because of it. So hopefully, once that's done, I have to like rebuild a little bit of the database, but otherwise, if I think if I try and zip it, and this will be the first time I've ever tried to zip a file, because I've never actually ever done that, but you know, I'm hoping if I zip it into a single thing, even though it's pre-zipped something like maybe 16 to 20 gigs, that should at least transfer a little better, and then I can just unzip it on the SD card. That said, I think the only reason data is slow on that is just because the save data is buggered on it, so if I format it, that should fix it as well. I'm not sure. I figure if I zip it and then just unzip it once it gets there, that might make things a little better. At least on paper, that's what I'm thinking. But it's adventures in trying to deal with a broken SD card and not losing everything. On the bright side, with the exception of 2 files that for whatever reason decided not to be transferred because for some reason apparently like their data was modified externally, which I have no idea how that worked. You know, everything else has been able to transfer pretty well. It was funny, that was 2 files over the course of like several thousand, and I was thinking, just looking at the first folder, like where those 2 files were located, you know, if 1% of all the files in there don't work, then I think I'm okay, but you know, at the end I looked and it's just like, oh, no, it's just 2. Just 2 files over the course of, you know, however many thousand in there. It's very surprising, honestly. I thought it would be more of a wider spread problem, but across the entire SD card, it's just 2 files that don't seem to be working. Granted, I don't think that's necessarily the problem with it, but to find out that there's only 2 problematic files on there, it's just a little odd. But that's me pretending I understand how data management and data corruption really work. Snapper! And I got a boot. Actually, what I can do, however, write that to museum, Take this over here. Move this over here. And now we got 2 more spots. Well, we'd have 2 if I used all the paper, but still. 1 free spot extra. Come on, Snapper. Or Knifejaw. I'm not picky, just don't be the thing that you most likely are. Yay, got another Snapper. Here's the pink flamingo fish. Actually, I think snappers are red for the same reason flamingos are pink, so that actually might be true. That's a tiny fish. Yeah, I could bet Mario Maker 2 would be oversaturated. I mean, I remember streaming it the first day I got it, and by the end of my first session, which was just randomly playing through, like, I think maybe 20 random levels, I was, like, in the top, I think it was either, like, 1% or 10% in the world in terms of, like, how far you could get just playing randomized levels. And then I started up again, like, not even 5 hours later after I took a nap. And I was reduced to, like, the 100,000th % or whatever. It was like, wow, there are a lot of people playing this. And I still don't really get why people like those kind of games myself. But, you know, it's nice people are at least enjoying it, I guess. Still, if you're playing it for the sake of trying to get noticed for playing it, that could be a bit tricky. Just because everyone else is doing it as well. Alright, Nook, I'm here to sell a lot more fish. Sell, 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 sell. I suppose, but I mean, you could already do that. You could do that well before Mario Maker 1 existed. You know, stuff like Lunar Magic existed for a long period of time. And it's not like that's a very taxing program or anything to make. Well, that's the thing. You can play it because it's popular, you can ignore it because it's oversaturated. I think the important thing is you pick something that you like playing more than anything else. Because then at the very least you can enjoy your time with it instead of just doing it for the sake of doing it because it'll get you noticed. At that point, then it just becomes a job that I think you'd kind of resent. And that's kind of the opposite of why I decided to do this sort of thing. You know, I do this sort of thing because I love it, and that's why I wanted to make it my job. You know, I wanted to do something I didn't hate with my life. Not having a Switch will be kind of a stopping point as well. That looks too big to be a snapper. That might be a Knifejaw, maybe. Not that I would be able to tell now. I'm sure a lot of people with the Switch will probably just hop over to like Pokemon when it comes out. Or the next big thing. I don't even know what's coming out for the Switch. Like, I have one. And I took part in that, like, I think it was a pilot program, because I don't think they actually went back to it, but it was a program where you could buy like digital rebate vouchers and get like 40% off buying a second game on there. And you know, I've had those coupons, and there's been a couple games I've been interested in coming out that I just haven't ever bothered playing. Like I wanted to try that Fire Emblem game. I still haven't done that. I've kind of wanted to play, what is it, Demon's Ex Machina, because that looked interesting. I was kind of interested in Astral Chain. Kind of interested in Pokemon, even though I find Pokemon to have been a big letdown since the 4th generation. And yet, even though I have the options to get them at no additional cost to me, and in fact, savings for me who is smart enough to at least buy these, I just haven't. They're not that interesting to me right now, I guess. I think Stardew Valley would be definitely a fun one to do, although, again, I think it's probably going to be a very saturated thing, because a lot of people like Stardew Valley, of course. I don't know, if we're talking new games, new being the keyword, the only games that are currently on my radar are this little game called Outward that I've never heard of that came out like 6 months ago. It's like this weird indie Skyrim thing with survival elements that I managed to buy a copy for the super cheap by importing from Europe. And the similarly named Outer Worlds, which is supposed to be like Fallout New Vegas 2.0 apparently. But I think thinking about it like that is fallacy because, well, it's by the same guys who did Fallout New Vegas, and that's how they're marketing it. And I think going in there expecting the same thing twice, even though that's kind of how they're marketing it, is a bad idea. So I'm totally willing to admit I'm going in there with the wrong idea. But at the same time, I have Xbox Gold and built-in Game Pass, so I'll be able to play it for free when it comes out. Well, free. For whatever per month I'm paying for that. But I've got, I'm not paying anything extra, just swapped. So I've got just the Game Pass as well as my Xbox Live up until next December at no additional cost. So being able to play one or two really interesting games without necessarily having to pay for them, that's something I like. Although I don't think Xbox is doing that for too many games. I only know they've done it for that and Crackdown 3, which I think severely hurt its sales. Because, I mean, there's no reason for people to buy it now, since they're basically giving it away for free. And, I mean, the game itself wasn't spectacular or anything. I think if you like Crackdown, you'd probably like Crackdown 3, but was it worth the, what, 8-year wait it's had since it was first announced? I'd say no. But I liked it. You know, I like Crackdown, I like big, goofy sandbox games. Provided they're done right, anyway. I mean, I can think of 1,000,001 sandbox games that aren't done right. Any Saints Row After 2 comes to mind. They look good, but I don't think they did the sandbox part of those games particularly right after 2. Just Cause 3, I think they did the sandbox rather poorly. Just Cause 4, I think, was better, but I don't think they could ever beat Just Cause 2. I've not played Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. I actually got Ninja Gaiden 2 a few months ago as part of my loot video. I don't know if you've seen that or not, and I've been meaning to play that because I'm super excited about that. But I'm not going to play Ninja Gaiden 3 until I play 2. But the only Ninja Gaiden games I've played are 1, 2, and 3, which I've been able to play thanks to my pirate gaming. Thanks to the Wonderful World of Bizarre knockoff multi-carts. And that terrible zombie spin-off Yaiba, which was on my worst game of the year list because that thing was abysmally bad. Yeah, I know it's on Games with Gold. I actually have it on my Xbox from Games with Gold. It's totally available, I just haven't played it yet. And I don't plan on playing it until I finish, or at least play a little bit of Ninja Gaiden 2. But like I said during my loot video, I remember first seeing the ads for it replacing like those really nice Atlas DS ads online. And just seeing the imagery of Ryu walking out, like, in just, like, this giant graveyard of swords and thinking, you know, I wish I could play that, because I absolutely have to play that. And it only took, what, 15 years since it came out for me to actually be able to. But I'm still excited to play it. I just gotta find the time. I hear it was, like, the #1 most wanted backwards compatible 360 game. I don't know, I can name so many 360 games I wish were backwards compatible. I'm still trying to finish up my, like, 360 library. The frustrating thing is if you don't count imports between my 360 and PS3, I think there's a total of like 25 games left for me to find, but they are just hard to find. That's nice. Free 2 days of gold. Hell yeah. Put that on your account, and that's extra days added to your Gold Plus Game Pass or whatever, because, I mean, they're letting you add that up for, like, nothing, which is kind of nice. I don't know, I've heard of people, like, taking advantage of the fact they'll let you transfer up to 3 years worth of that to, like, get the Game Pass Plus Gold or whatever. And it's like, you know, that's a really good idea. If I had money, I'd probably do that myself, but I didn't have that, so I just waited till my gold renewed, and then I decided to swap over. But, you know, it's surprising how expensive 360 games still can be nowadays, like even just in the used markets. And not just because I live in a place that overcharges on every game ever, but like, you look on eBay, at least looking on eBay for any 360 PS3 game I'm still looking for, it's still like $20, $30 plus shipping, plus import fees, plus, you know, currency conversion and all that nonsense. So that's. Well, from what I've heard, and again, this is all based on what other people have said, Ninja Gaiden 3 is nowhere near as good as Ninja Gaiden 2. I'm not sure if that's necessarily like just the Razor's Edge version or the standard version, mind you. I don't know about all the different versions and stuff. But I heard it's not quite as good, it's not quite as interesting, it's not quite as fun or challenging. But, you know, if you got 2 days worth of gold and you want one free game, that's certainly a thing you can do. I would suggest you do it like on the 30th or 31st, so that you can get like a free game for next month as well, just to economize that a little bit. What I didn't realize about the quote-unquote free games that you're paying for a rental service to get, well, the 360 ones that are being given away are free for years to keep. The Xbox ones are only in your library until your gold lapses, and then you lose it. And in that regard, it's basically like PlayStation Plus, which I do not like, because I don't like PlayStation Plus inherently. It's a paid rental service you have no actual control over. You know, if I'm going to rent games, assuming that were still a thing, I'd be more interested in being able to like select the games I rent. Yeah, the system is just... And I feel like at no point do they ever actively tell you this. The only reason I ever noticed this was because if you go to like any Xbox One game that you got with Games with Gold, like if you check out their store page, it'll say buy to own still. Even though, for all intents and purposes, you already own it. And it's like, you know, I don't like this digital rental service that I have no control over. Like I said, if I'm gonna go rent games, I would prefer to be able to, like, you know, go and pick the games I'm renting. But second of all, if I'm going to be like dictated at which games I can potentially play, first of all, PlayStation Plus gives you like dozens and dozens of games per month. Not dissimilar to Game Pass now, I suppose. But at the same time, they're giving you brand new games and stuff. I don't think GameFly is available here in Canada. I was kind of surprised GameFly even still exists, honestly. I thought that ended a long time ago. I know at one point there was like a Redbox for games, but I think we only got like Redbox for movies as like a pilot program as well, so that's the thing. If I want games, I basically have to buy them. And because the local market for games is so abysmal, that means I have to go to eBay, which, as we've discussed in the past, is just awful. Which is yet another reason why I find a great great deal of extra value in everything that people donate to keep the show running, you know. It's really nice when someone sends me a game or a little bit of extra funding so that I can at least buy my own. Just because the market, in pretty much all regards nowadays, is just awful. You know what really makes me sad is there's a myriad of digital games out there, and I think this is a fundamental thing with digital gaming that I hate, even though this entire generation I've basically been digital gaming, is without warning, games will just disappear. And you'll be lucky if you'll be able to re-download ones you've already purchased, but if there's digital games you wanted and they're just gone forever. Like, well, most recently, the DuckTales remake is now no longer available, which is a little odd. I know that game was available purely digital, even though you could buy a physical case. It contained a download code, which I would imagine are no longer valid. I think of a couple that really pissed me off, especially because they were games I really wanted to play. There was the remake to Outrun on the Xbox 360. There was the new Afterburner. There was a free Doritos game where you played as a dinosaur destroying a city. I always wanted to play that one. That one's no longer available. There's Marble Blast. I wanted to play Marble Blast for the longest time. And, like, the only way to get those games now is to know someone who has those games digitally and let them, like, borrow their account to download them. Yeah. That's really lucky if someone sent you a code, like, the day before you took it down. And that's the thing, you'll be lucky if there's, like, any notice ahead of time that it's gonna happen. Like, And if you're not up on places that try and aggregate gaming news for stuff like this, you're basically just completely screwed. I remember being completely surprised that DuckTales was gone. I mean, I already had a copy, so it didn't bother me too much, but it was like, really, they're taking that down, huh? Just came across as strange to me. Another great example, going back to my loot video from last month, was I really wanted to get the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fighting game. And that's just completely unavailable now. There's so many digital games I want to play, and I just can't. I think a 2-day warning is a bit much. I think they need to give you more than that. I know for Afterburner, and I regret this because it was a matter where, like, my clock was delayed by a day or so. I remember they gave you, like, a month's warning. Oh, that's Coelacanth. Let's see if we can get a fourth one today. But I remember thinking, you know, I really want to get this game. I'm going to go get a points card because that was before I had a credit card. And, you know, the moment I got home, I realized, oh, it's gone. Well, that sucks. Actually, what's really devastating is, like I said, Outrun. Outrun's my favorite arcade game of all time. They had taken it down before I got an Xbox 360, which really sucked. But I have no idea why this happened. I guess someone was just screwing up at their job or something. But for whatever reason, one day, well after it was delisted, it was available again. And again, this was before I had a credit card, so I had to go buy a points card, but I had downloaded the demo. And, you know, I was going to run out to the store, which was like maybe 10 minutes away from my house. And I was going to go play Outrun. The moment I got back, it was delisted. So my Xbox 360 has the demo to it. And in the demo, I can access the ability to buy the full version, but every time I try it, like, errors, and it's like, you know, I don't ever want to get rid of this, but at the same time, I feel sad every time I see it. And without a physical equivalent, there's just no way to get these games. Again, short of knowing someone who has it and letting them borrow their account or something. Which, that's a huge amount of trust right there that's needed. You know, that's not something a lot of people tend to have. that's kind of a weird thing to do. I can kind of see why you would, like, sell your previous console stuff for next-gen stuff just to get, like, a discount to get in on it, but I would hold on to that stuff, personally. Or I would be the guy trying to make an offer on that stuff. You know, if I had money, just by virtue of the fact that, you know, at that point, prices for stuff are just gonna drop. That's gonna be, like, where they're at their lowest. It'd be smarter to hold on to it for a while if you really are that determined to get rid of stuff. I don't know, I'm just bitter because there's so many digital games I want to play that I just can't anymore. What's also aggravating is, like, when you see a game that was made available digitally, available physically, but only in, like, limited regions, like, there was this interesting, like, multimedia project on the PS4 called, what was it, Short Piece, and it was a collection of, I want to say, 5 short films and a game by Suda51. And you can buy that digitally, and it's actually really expensive to buy digitally, but it's one of those games that's so weird that you probably want a physical version because it's going to get delisted at some point. You just know it. And the thing is, it's available physically in English, but you have to import it from Europe, which means you're going to pay like twice as much for it. Well, I don't know, man. Like, a lot of the newer consoles are not that particularly good. I mean, the Xbox One has all of one exclusive title to it that I think is worth playing, and even then I wouldn't say it's a system seller by any means. You know what, 2. I will give them credit for Crackdown 3, I guess. And while I was certainly willing to put that on my Game of the Year list, the year I played it, I certainly wouldn't say it's a system seller by any means. I mean, if you're going to get a... I still want to... Like, that's a sign that this console generation in general has failed. That it's basically over, and I'm still trying to refer to it as the next gen, because I feel like, you know, it still hasn't hit its stride. I still feel like this is the age of the PS3 and Xbox 360, even though I shouldn't say it's not getting any games. Apparently the Wii is still getting Just Dance in Europe. Just Dance 2020, now available for the Wii for reasons I can't understand. The Switch is an okay system. I mean, the year it came out, I would say it was not worth having. I put it on my worst game of the year list, like the entire system, because its lineup was just woeful. Now it is better. Again, if you like classic arcade stuff, there's tons of stuff you can get for it. You can get like the Neo Geo games that I've been reviewing recently, although mine are on the 360. There's tons of old school shmup collections out there, although a lot of those you have to unfortunately import from Japan. And the Switch is one of those few really nice systems where you can actually access the digital Japanese market from an English console. As I understand, you have to like make a Japanese account, but apparently it's really easy to do. But I'm going to stop you right there and say that Kirby is not a must-play. I have a copy of the new Kirby game, and I think it is woeful. It's like mishmashing ideas from Kirby Superstar, Kirby 64, and like a little bit of, what was that one Game Boy Advance game? The one with the cell phones. I can't think of what that is, but it's like if you combined all of those but took out any sense of personality they had and just made them really weak and shallow. Yeah, the Amazing Mirror. You know, I should know that. I only have half the Game Boy Advance Kirby games, and that's the one I have, so I don't know why I couldn't remember it. Really want to get Nightmare in Dreamland, though. But the Switch actually has a pretty good lineup of stuff. Plus, I think the Switch Lite is apparently cheaper, although I don't like it on a fundamental level. Because that is a Switch you can't hook up to your TV, and I have no idea why people use the Switch as a handheld. I think I've seen my brother use it as a handheld like twice. And even then, I think that was just to show off that he could do it. Well, you know, if that's your kind of thing and you want to play it multiplayer, then it's not bad, but I played, I played it multiplayer a little bit with one of my college buddies who was curious about it, and after playing about 3 levels, we kind of just decided, yep, this is what it is. I guess, I don't know though, I do not fundamentally like the Switch as a handheld. But I'm the kind of guy who's still trying to get a Game Boy Advance SP to take when I go for walks and stuff. Because the DS just doesn't do Game Boy Color games. And I want to play Power Quest and Super Robot Pinball, damn it. Man, those are great games. But the Switch has gotten better over the past year. Last year, I wouldn't recommend the Switch now. Yeah, okay. But it's a very vague recommendation. Like I said a little while ago, I took part in like the Switch coupon pilot program they were launching, and I still have half my coupons, and I'm just, even though there are games out there that I kind of have an interest in, I just don't see the reason to play. Also, I know one of them automatically gets your account flagged if you show it off on YouTube, so I just don't want to play that one in general, even though it's a game I really want to play. I hate that crap so much, but that's because my YouTube channel is my bread and butter, as successful as it is. Well, yeah. I mean, I've played Let's Go Pokemon, and that was okay. I've been meaning to play through that again, but I want to finish Pokemon Ruby first, and because my entire database kind of got wiped, I'm not sure I'll even be able to do that. I actually have an idea for a Pokemon video I'd like to make in the meantime, though, so maybe I'll do that if I get a moment. Oh, Camofrog's glitching out. I don't know, I'm not a big Smash Brothers kind of guy, I guess. Like, that's definitely a party game, and that doesn't interest me too much. I have a copy, and I streamed it for 4 hours, but after that I just didn't play it again. That said, like, its digital library is definitely far more fascinating to me. And the nice thing is, if you want to play it online, because it's online is now a subscription service too, it's at least an affordable subscription service. It's like, I think, $20 a year. That's not too bad. And I mean, you can buy like a family program for like, I think it's like $35 a year, and at the very least, that's what I did. My brother just found like a bunch of his friends who wanted Switch Online but didn't want to pay like $20 a year, and ultimately we all just called ourselves one quote-unquote family, and we all ultimately pay like $1 a year for Switch Online. And we get 1 or 2 free games every year, which is kind of nice, I guess. I got Tetris. Plus we get access to free NES and Super Nintendo games, so that's a thing, I guess. Although I do not understand how those games work. Like, they set up these bizarre, like, special edition versions, which are literally just save states set at, like, the last area with maxed stats and stuff. There's nothing particularly interesting about that to me. That might be a sea bass, or it might be a snapper. Let's find out. Or let's not. I don't know, if you're getting a... still referring to it as next-gen console, even though it's been the current gen for like 5 years. If you're getting a next-gen console, I'd avoid the Xbox One. I like its dashboard system, but that's about the only good thing it's got going for it. The PS4 at the very least has exclusives, and the Switch has a pretty decent library, if you count its digital stuff, and you have an interest in like obscure old arcade stuff. It's got Windjammers. I don't know if they've changed like the rules with Demon's Ex Machina, but I know at least when it came out, if you showed any footage of it on YouTube, your account immediately got like flagged. Which means if you had any sort of like ad revenue, you wouldn't be able to have any of that for over a year. And it's an entirely automated system that just assumes you're the villain from the start. Like, I hate hate how much people abuse that system. And it's been like that for like 10 years. And just no one ever does anything about it. And you know what the obnoxious thing is like every couple of months YouTube has one of those, you know, let's do a survey thing. Tell us exactly how you feel because we care about your opinion. They don't care about your opinion. I've been telling them I hate their automated systems. They've done nothing about it. I tell them I hate how they've completely dicked over people with their policy changes and killed people's livelihoods like they did mine. They don't do anything about it. I've told them how much I hate their studio beta and want them to stop automatically shoving me into it every 6 hours, but they keep doing it. Yes, I was talking about Kirby Star Allies, which I find to be a very bland game. Not bad, mind you, just really not interesting to play. Which is hard to do. I mean, it basically combined all the best concepts from previous Kirby games, but it just, you know, it just does not do anything interesting. It's got some of, like, the most boring, straightforward, and, like, safe level design ever. There's no challenge to it. It feels like baby's first Kirby game. And I mean, the first Kirby game was one of my first games of all time. That was not an easy game. That was a game, for years I had trouble beating the second level because Lolo and Lala were a really tough fight. Damn it. So to make, you know, the next Kirby at least an interesting idea and then just completely whiff the execution, it sucks to see. I don't know. But I mean, that's my daily rant about everything wrong with YouTube. And why pretty much everyone trying to do YouTube professionally can't really rely on ad revenue ever. Because YouTube will dick you over at every turn. And that's why you kind of have to rely on donations at this point. Which, I mean, say what you will about e-begging, but, I mean, that's just kind of how it has to be at this point if you want to actually try and survive on the internet. So the short version is, if you can support people you like on the internet, you should try to. Because they probably need you to. But, you know, I hear so many people complain about people doing stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, well, you know, some people, I can see that being a logical reason to complain about, because some people make, you know, hundreds, if not millions of dollars a year off of stuff on eBay, and they sell merchandise and they still resort to, like, donations and stuff, but, you know, for a lot of people, donations are really their income on eBay, and in my case, it's my total income. You know, that's just sometimes how things are. Woolly World was... I wouldn't say Epic Yarn or Woolly World were baby games. Like, Epic Yarn, I would say absolutely. In fact, I reviewed it, and when I did, I basically said I would not ever give this game to a child because it sorry, losing my throat. I'm very passionate about this. It gives them a really bad idea of, like, how the world works because it gives them no challenge. But I think it's still a fun game. But I think it's the opposite of what a baby game should be. But that's, as someone who, you know, grew up with Fantasy Zone and Contra and stuff. But, you know, Woolly World, I think that game was... I don't think that was much of a baby game. I think that was it was an okay game. It was a little easy, but, you know, I've played worse. My bigger problem with Woolly World was that it was just really, really unoriginal. Well then, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about then. You know, Woolly World is certainly better than, you know, what was the other one on the Wii U? I can't even think of what it is. It's on my shelf, too. Let's see. Oh, no, that is Woolly World. What the hell's the Switch one, then? As you can clearly see, I'm up to date on things I actually talk about. Well, I think Epic Yarn is a great game. I just think it's a bad game to give to children. And it's a bad game if you want a challenge. But I think it's a really clever and adorable game. I just wish there was more of a challenge to it. and it didn't reuse so much content. Those are the two problems with Woolly World, or Epic Yarn. But I think it's better than, yeah, Woolly World, the first Yoshi Epic Yarn. The second one, it was really unoriginal, but it was better. Yay! Red Snapper. Yes, Yoshi's Crafted World. I think that one is better. It's actually kind of a fun game. It's just really unoriginal. Like, I've reviewed it, and I've done a full Let's Play of it, but, you know, for whatever reason, the final boss is literally the final boss of the first Yoshi game. Just 'cause, really, and I find that to be really, really bloody lazy. It's a different fight, but it's the same boss with the same dumb contrivances. And, like, yes, I'm glad we all thought Giant Baby Bowser was an awesome fight originally, but doing it every single game is not going to make it interesting. That's diminishing returns right there. I don't care how you change it up. It's the same fight. Oh, there's another coelacanth. We made like 200,000 bells in the past hour just from coelacanths. That's not bad. And there's another one. I've actually never played the original Canvas Curse. I've not played either Canvas Curse. But they don't look like interesting games. The problem with the first one, at the very least, was it was a touchscreen game. And I fundamentally do not like touchscreens because they're just so easy to mark up. And once they do, they lose pretty much half their effectiveness. And they look ugly. Just seem like little cracks and scratches and stuff. Like, every time I'd buy a DS after my first one, I would refuse to ever use the touchscreen on it until, like, I got a new one. Just because I didn't want to have to stare at my DS with, like, a cracked screen or whatever. Oh, does he just auto-roll in those games? Oh, that's awful. You know, that kind of reminds me of, what is it, Star Fox Zero, where the game just has like the most stupid control scheme and you only sort of have to control the game. I hate that crap. You know, Breath of the Wild and Splatoon did something similar where it's all like based on the gyroscopic controls of how you're holding their controllers, and it's like, oh, that's awful. And while you can turn that stuff off in Zelda and have it work at least within a certain degree of competency, although it's very, very slow and even turning up the sensitivity doesn't really help a lot. Splatoon, it feels like it wasn't built for that. So while you can do it, it doesn't feel comfortable. Which is funny because, like, trying to use gyro controls is even less comfortable. It's like, there's nothing here that works properly. Yeah, that's, I never got into Canvas Curse. I've never seen a copy, either. Of either copy of Canvas Curse out there. I just fundamentally don't like gyro motion controls. It just, it makes me feel sick, and it just feels unnatural. It's sort of like my review of Skyward Sword. It's like the moment you become aware that you're trying to control something, as opposed to simply doing it, it immediately makes it far more awkward than it ever needs to be. Like, you know, moving your arm in real life, that is a matter of something you can do basically subconsciously. You don't need to think about it, you just do it. Well, in order to make that work using external devices, you have to make that as simple as possible, such as pressing a button. But the moment you try and add a bunch of stuff to try and make it more like actual moving your controls, well, then it's like trying to move someone's arm by swinging your own arm connected to their shoulder. And then you just become aware of it, and it's like, well, this isn't accurate. This is just making me more and more aware that I'm not actually doing this. I'm doing a thing by extension of doing it. And it just becomes far less immersive ever. I disagree. I think Boktai, as someone who has both English ones anyway, I thought those were pretty natural for the most part. The only thing that didn't really work about those games, I think, was the fact that it required you to use certain degrees of sunlight at certain points or you could not advance. So if you wanted to play the game at night, like, whereas you could try and survive using minimal light and whatever, you fundamentally could not complete a chapter until you had X amount of sunlight, and I did not like that. But I'm also, like, the biggest fan of Boktai ever, so there's a reason it was one of my earliest reviews. I love that game. I've been meaning to do the sequel for quite a while, but I've just never gotten around to it. I'd like to do the third one someday, but it's still never been officially put out by Konami in English, and it never will. Someone told me they got a copy of it fan translated, like through a functional copy in English. But when I asked them about a link so I could get one myself, they couldn't show it to me, which made me sad. It's like, oh, but I want that. That sounds awesome. That's just down my alley. Oh, I love Boktai. Don't care so much for the second one, spoilers, but the first Boktai is pretty awesome. I don't know, if you go and watch like my actual gameplay videos of Skyward Sword, you can kind of see just how much I struggled with those controls. It's like, wow, this is rough, you know. I would be willing to say this is a great game if I could just turn these crappy motion controls off, because it's just way more awkward than it ever needs to be. I never played Link's Crossbow Training. I've seen one or two copies, but it was always way too expensive. But I think that was more or less like Wii Play. It was more or less just a tech demo that came with a controller to sort of calibrate it. Although that said, Wii Play had one really good game on it. It had like a version of Combat that was actually really good, from what I remember anyway. Yeah, I've seen the attachment, but I've never seen the attachment and the crossbow training available at the same time, so I've just never bothered buying it. Also, never had much of an interest in it, honestly. There's just another snapper. Should probably head back home soon. Oh, but I want to find another coelacanth. But yeah, it's funny, at this point there's more games on the Wii left for me to collect that I really want to find than there are combined on the 360 and PS3. Doesn't make finding any of those games any easier, but there's that. Really trying to find a copy of Fragile Dreams. That's sort of my top Wii game right now that I'm looking for. It's a hard to find one though. Nothing here. Stupid sea bass. Like, that's the funny thing, you know. The Wii and the DS, and even the 3DS, I think they're all kind of, and even the Wii U, they're all a complete wash for Nintendo, I think. I think they might be sort of somewhat fondly remembered for the time people had, like the kids that grew up with it, but for the most part, they were just so gimmicky that I don't think people will ever have any, like, staying power or desire to go back to them. Well, I don't know about you, but I know, having set up a donation page for my Twitch and my YouTube thing by extension, or rather the other way around, at least for me it was a bit of a pain, because I know I had to go out and, like, I had to contact the IRS, which I'm sure you have to anyway, but the fact is, as a Canadian, that's a lot trickier, because not being in America, I have to go through them, and then I have to go through my own group, which is like the CRA, and then I have to like get a bunch of forms that sort of like contact the two. So it's a pain, but you know, if it's how I'm going to be able to try and fund my channel and stuff through the wonderful people out there who can support my channel. Not so subtle hint there, you know, go check out my Patreon. Unlike a lot of people, I can't give you a bunch of bonus things for supporting it, but I didn't want to lock off content or anything. I think that's dumb. It's literally, if you like my stuff, support it so that I can continue to do it. Which I think is the best way to do it. Although you do get yourself on a Discord where you can vote on stuff and influence what I decide to do next. Which presently is going to be the next pirate game cart I'm going to do. I'm pretty excited about that. I got some interesting ones. Oh, and I'm hoping to have a vote for what I'm going to do starting next year for the stream, because once Animal Crossing's over, I've got a couple RPGs and stuff I'd like to do. But that's going to be a thing up for votes at some point. For the wonderful people who help, you know, allow me to do what I do, and, you know, pay for food. Because paying for food is kind of nice sometimes. We have made 200,000 bells in one day. That's not bad. Alright. Next step. Buy flowers. Also, we gotta buy candy, cuz Jack is coming. I think his name is Jack. I can't remember. It's been first I played Animal Crossing Halloween. I'm gonna have to time travel for that because every Halloween I have to go to my grandmother's house and hand out candy for her because she just doesn't have the energy to interact with kids as much. So I'm gonna have to like time travel and do that. Also, there's one or two other Halloween things I want to do. Plus, I've got a Halloween review that should be coming up either tonight or tomorrow, just depending on how much I get done and whether or not my stupid broken SD card will actually let me do stuff, because it lags my mouse out to even like do stuff while it's transferring information. It's kind of bad. But I know there's 2 Halloween streams I want to do. I'm thinking I will do one probably either this Thursday or Monday. 7 days from now, not, you know, tomorrow. Plus, last year, we got to explore the scariest possible thing we could for Halloween, religion. I'm gonna give you a nice little bit of a tease and tell you, this year we're gonna explore the second scariest thing of all time, you know, provided that my RF gets up and running, where we're gonna explore edutainment. But fear not, it's not going to be awful edutainment. I actually have a very special, awesome piece of edutainment we're going to play. You know, provided I actually get a chance to. But I also have a import PS2 game I got for last Halloween that unfortunately arrived November 1st. I'm getting flashbacks to that time I bought like 80 copies of Zombies Ate My Neighbors for that very thing. But, that is sort of what I'm planning. Edutainment plus import games. That'll be fun. Plus, of course, we got Halloween Jack in Animal Crossing. And my review of Halloween stuff that will be going up sometime within the next 24 hours. So we got all sorts of Halloween stuff coming up. Really exciting. What are you planning on streaming? I can't guarantee that I'd have time to watch because I've got a bunch of editing and other stuff I gotta do, but still, you know, I could certainly try and buff your viewership if I can. It's nice to have something on in the background when you work as well. Oh, we got more ants. I dropped 1 piece of candy, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to drop 5 pieces of candy. There's 4. Nope, 5. You know, I don't think I've ever heard this song. kind of digging it, though. Gotta nod my head along to it. It's a good song. I'm not sure if Wisp will be around because we did pick all our wheat, but we could look while we're here. Well, I gotta admit, I love Paper Mario. I'm mostly pissed off because I don't have a copy of it. I love Paper Mario so much. It's one of the very few N64 RPGs we got. And it's not Quest 64. Or that other game that's knockoff Quest 64, Iden Chronicles. Yeah, you mentioned that, Shy Guy's Toy Box. Did you ever fight the big angry black Shy Guy that murders you? But you get like a huge stat boost if you kill him or whatever? I think he's supposed to level with you or something. I just remember him being like the toughest boss in the game. Grumpy guy or whatever his name is. That game is so good, and it's got so many great levels. I love the Boo level. I love the penultimate level, the one where you're in the like giant garden. That level's awesome. Although that boss had me stuck for so long. He's not even a hard boss, but when I was a kid, I could not beat that stupid cloud. I didn't like the second chapter so much, the desert one, but that's because I hate desert levels. But, you know, Paper Mario is fantastic. I'm not sure if I like it more than Thousand Year Door, but I know I don't have that either. Yeah, another very expensive yet fairly common GameCube game I don't have. Great games all around, though. Hey, there's Pearl. Still have not run into Wisp yet. I remember for the longest time not understanding that you could actually, like, swap items between Peach and Mario. Back in the day, I was like, okay, I've got, like, these badges and this other awesome stuff. What am I supposed to do with it? And then I just lost it because I couldn't figure out to trade it to him. I really like the Peach chapters in that game as well, with Twink. He's an adorable little star friend who should be in more games. Also, Geno. Geno needs to be in more games. Oh, Katrina's coming to this town too. I'm gonna faceplant so much. That is a good title, actually. I like that a lot. It works on quite a few levels. Works with your theming as well. Yay! Wisp is here. Just gotta find him now. There he is. I will collect all the spirits for you, Mr. Cheesy Pants. So, ghosts work for someone named Mr. Cheesy Pants. We've learned this today. Let's go get a thing that's going to be brand new for us. Because Wisp. One. I remember Shy Guy's Toy Box giving you, like, the most... As far as I could tell, like, the most pointless teammate, though. What? I remember that just being really a dumb party member. Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about Wisp is he'll give you anything that isn't currently in your catalog. Including, I believe he'll give you special, like, event stuff. Like, if we skipped all the Halloween stuff, he could give us Halloween stuff. He could give us shirts, he could give us gyroids. He can't, of course, give us Legend of Zelda, Mario Bros, Super Mario Bros, or Ice Climbers, as much as I wish he could. And I don't think he can give you the dummy, which, as we all know, is the greatest item in Animal Crossing. Hence why my house is adorned with them. Yeah, no, he gave us the Circuit shirt last time, which was a Gracie shirt. But yeah, he can give you basically anything as long as it's something you can actually obtain within natural gameplay, minus the dummy. But I kind of get that. Although it does make me sad because the dummy is the greatest item in the game. Seriously, I don't think I've ever heard this song in Animal Crossing, but it is really good. Very simple, like, maybe 10-second loop, but man, it's a good loop. It uses like a great backbeat for any other song ever. This is a guy who's pretending to understand anything about music. You're already here. Already got 2 ghosts, so need 3 more. I don't like that I might have to destroy some flowers to catch these things, though. But alas, this is how we're going to get items. Special items, potentially. Where's the weird wiggly spirits? We must get them for Mr. Cheesy Pants. Alright, well, we've checked around here. That means they're probably above the cliff, or at the very least we completely missed where they are. Get rid of that. They're probably behind a tree and we're just not seeing them. Again, this is one of those weird things where I wish they actually glowed, sort of like they do when you actually hold them, for whatever reason. You know, it would give a better indicator of where stuff is. Get rid of that. I'm inclined to think it won't be on this acre because there's a bug. Hey, a gift from the Sky Gods. I'm distracted now. Oh, that's not nice. Stupid game. And now it's gone forever. Because our garden was just too powerful for freebies. I guess I could have destroyed one of those flowers, but I really didn't want to. That is another downside to having the greatest garden of all time. You can't have freebies anymore. On the flip side, it means you can't get stung by bees anymore, because the same thing will happen to their nests. So, you know, small victories, I guess. Although if you're trying to get bees, I guess that kind of puts a damper on that as well. Get rid of this. Come on! Where are the last 3 guys? No, you can't shovel rocks for gold. And what we learned from that is the golden rock will not change until you knock money out of it. Which is interesting. So it means that fundamentally, if a rock happens to have gold and is surrounded by these things, we will never see it again. I thought it naturally swapped every day, but apparently it does not. It only swaps if you knock money out of the previous one. Which was interesting to find out, to say the least. Nothing here. Is that the char down there? That might be. I don't think I can catch it from here. Yeah, New Leaf has those rocks you can just break, and they give you, like, free chunks of, like, diamond and stuff. And then you get to make diamond furniture, which I thought was really cool. New Leaf had some really cool features. Gyroid! Mega Lamantoid. I don't think that's one I care about, though. In that I know that's not one I care about. Yeah, you can make furniture with all your diamonds and rubies and whatever. You can make really shiny furniture, and it looks cool. I don't remember the exact thing you have to do, but you have to talk to the blue llama, who then I think sets you up with the ability to do that at some point, but I think you have to hand him like a specific couch or something. A mini Lamontoid. Wow, we're getting all the Lamontoids. Awesome. But yes, you can make diamond-studded couches if you want. And they look pretty cool. They're shiny. Okay, so we're missing 3. And I don't know where they could be. So we're just gonna have to go super slow and try and cover all the acres again. But it's sort of like having to give up an oyster to make a music box out of a KK Slider song. Like, it's just, you can do that. And I think it's a neat little feature. Oh, sure, let's just put them over the ocean. Because I'm gonna make sure that looks like it's at all reachable. Oh, there's another one. Yeah, I heard the new Link's Awakening had a dungeon creator sort of thing. I don't know. I've got the original Link's Awakening. It's good. I'm content with that. I don't think the new one looks particularly good. Nor do I really want to shell out $90 for a new copy of a game I already own. But for if you don't already own it, I mean, it's like the 3rd best Zelda game ever made, so there's that. I have DX. I'd like to get the original though, because the original's the one that has all the fun warps and stuff. DX has some of that, but not as much. And it's a lot trickier to play around with without, like, completely screwing yourself over. But I will always state Zelda on the Game Boy Color for being, like, the best Zelda games, with one exception. And the DX has the color dungeon with the color outfits, although you can glitch those outfits onto your character anyway, but still. It's, yeah, Zelda Deluxe is pretty good. But I do not, as much as I love Link's Awakening, like, don't get me wrong, it's easily one of my favorite Zelda games, I just don't see the reason in spending almost $100 just to buy another copy of a game I already own. Like, it just does not make sense to me to do that. I mean, it doesn't help that I don't have money anyway, but, you know, if I had money, if I had money and I was going to spend it on games, I'd rather spend it on games I don't already own. And I probably wouldn't buy, like, games that just came out, because I don't have a ton of interest in new games right now. Like, I think it's weird that they decided to price point it at a brand new, like, launch game. Also, I'm just the kind of guy who also remembers when brand new games were like $30, and that was only like 10 years ago. And now they're $90. And, you know, trying to live off $13 a month, that is just not something that's going to happen too frequently. Yeah. Well, that's the thing with me, too, is if I buy new games, it's mostly just because I want to stream them. Or I, like, immediately stop after streaming them just because I don't find them particularly interesting. Like, new games, not to generalize or anything, but I'm about to, new games just aren't that particularly interesting. I guess we've just hit a point where, you know, games are just so homogenous that it's tough to find something that's really well and truly interesting nowadays. Where is this last spirit? Damn it. You know what I really find baffling is that, like, every game online store, at least for console games, has like a wish list function. But, like, none of them notify you if something you want is on your wish list. It makes no sense to me. Like, that is the fundamental purpose of having a wish list. It's not to give you a shorthand to find a game's page. If you want a game, you probably know how to get there. It's a matter of, you know, convenience for knowing when stuff's on sale and getting notified about it. Steam does. Steam, Humble Bundle does, as does Good Old Games. The problem is I don't play PC games too much. Just because I'm just more console than PC. I've got a nice PC too. Maybe not top of the line or anything, but I could probably play some decent games. With some decent settings, I imagine. It's not what I PC for. But I just find it, I also find it weird that, like, Xbox's digital page and their digital storefront has existed for, what, 15, 20 years at this point? They still don't have a cart function. You have to buy every single item individually. And, you know, if you're working with a debit card where your bank counts every transaction and, like, charges you based on how many transactions you do, that's not good. That's a fundamental feature that every store ever has. And yet, for whatever reason, Xbox doesn't. I don't know if Switch does. I've not bought enough Switch games to know that. But I know Xbox certainly doesn't. And I think that's weird. I think the only one right off that I can say does for sure is PlayStation. And that is a fundamental feature. That's not something that, you know, 20 years after the fact you should still not have. That's something day one you should have figured out. Well, I know that Steam does, because I have a Steam wishlist, obviously. But I typically don't buy games off my Steam wishlist unless they're like 80% off or like $1 or less, just because I don't play my PC enough to, even if it's a game I want, I can't really justify purchases above that sort of price point. I have played Castle Crashers. I played it on the 360 and I got a copy on the Xbox One for free, question mark? I don't know. I remember it being, like, listed for free, so I bought it, but I'm not sure if it's similar to, like, the Xbox Games with Gold. Like, it's something that allegedly I have for free, but I don't. I have not played it on Xbox One. I've got the 360 version. I played it a little bit. It was fun, but, you know, it's definitely one of those games you play with people, and I don't play with people, so I gave it, like, a once through, and that was enough for me. Where is this last spirit? Wisp, give me a hint. I don't think you do that, but do it. Well, I think Castle Crashers is a pretty fun game. I mean, on Xbox 360, I can think of a game that's basically like that I think I liked maybe a little bit more, called Charlie Murder, and that was because it was basically Castle Crashers but hyper stylized with a punk rock heavy metal theme, and it was made by a indie developer I really like. But yeah, beat 'em ups can be really fun, and you know, when you make them very stylized, they're a lot of fun to play around at. I love Streets of Rage so much. I don't like Final Fight so much, though. You know, and that's a weird thing, because Streets of Rage, and I said this in my Streets of Rage review like 6 years ago or whatever, that game exists just because Final Fight exists, and Sega wanted its own version of that, and the funny thing is, it was better in every way. Maybe not Streets of Rage 3, at least not the English version. The Japanese version was significantly better. It had extra levels, it was a lot easier, and it had proper colors, whereas the North American version was harder, cut levels, and changed characters' colors for reasons. But Streets of Rage was a great series. I've been meaning to review Streets of Rage 2 at some point, but haven't gotten around to it yet. Also, where the hell is this last damn spirit? We're missing one. I wish we could get like a spirit radar or something. I could at least tell us, or at least have some idea where it could be. Yeah. Well, the problem is it's all 3, but you're going to get Streets of Rage as opposed to Bare Knuckle 3. What I would recommend, and I think Steam has it, and I think it might also be on Xbox One, I'm not sure, but there was a newer release of Xbox of a bunch of Sega classics that let you swap the versions around, so you could play Bare Knuckle 3 to get the definitive version of it. Although I don't think it gave you perfect control over every game on there, because I know one of the Shinobi games, if you were to have that, it would violate a bunch of copyright stuff. Because I want to say it was either Revenge of Shinobi or Shinobi 3. It featured Mechagodzilla, the Terminator, Batman, Spider-Man. It featured a bunch of like weird cultural crossover stuff, and most of that was stolen. I think at one point Sega actually was working on a Spider-Man game, so they actually did have the rights to use Spider-Man video games for a little while, so I think Spider-Man was okay, but the rest were like all stolen. Yeah, that might be it. It might be the Mega Drive Classics. I know it had like this weird hub thing that was like a game room. I took a look at it once. I never got the chance to play it myself, but I was looking at it through like some screenshots and stuff. Yeah, that might be it. I'm not sure. I genuinely don't know, because of course there was like the Mega Drive Classics, and then this might be its own thing that got released a little later. I'm not sure. So there's a good chance I'm wrong about that, but I know there is a version where you can select different versions of stuff. And if you can, you should absolutely play the Japanese Bare Knuckle 3 as opposed to Streets of Rage 3, just because it is a significantly better experience. You know what it is? I'm betting that the spirit probably spawns somewhere on the tracks and we'll just never be able to get to it. Because Animal Crossing is peculiar like that. I mean, we've circled this place, what, 3 times now? I'm only give it one more. No, that's a flower. I'm not seeing any spirits. This sucks. Like, and again, if it just emitted a little bit of light, like when you actually catch it, this might actually be easy enough to do, but as it stands, this is just frustrating. Where's this last spirit? Come on. It's probably behind a house or something dumb. Where could it be? Where could this spirit be? I don't want to get Wisp in trouble with Mr. Cheesy Pants. Although it really is Wisp's fault he lost all these ghosts. And continues to do so. But at the same time, I want free stuff. Especially if it's free stuff I don't have yet. Spike just teleported in. Where could Mr. Cheesy Pants' spirit be? Huh. How is that? I don't play a lot of hidden object games. I know they're pretty... The development scene is pretty big in a few places in the world, but it's not the kind of game that seems terribly interesting to me, especially considering a lot of that is like phone game type of stuff, and I don't get the chance to really play stuff like that too often. I'm betting it probably spawned the spirit like on the tracks or something, or in like a wall and we just can't get to it. I fear that might be the case. And every moment the growing dread is building. And I'm more and more certain that is very much what happened. I thought I saw something, but I guess not. Alas, we might not be able to find this last spirit, and then Wisp will be in trouble. And that would make me sad, because Wisp deserves to not be in trouble, possibly. Okay, seriously, we've checked every acre like 3 times. I don't want to have to, like, grid square by square, go through these places. That sounds really bloody tedious. I'm gonna give it one more circle, and if we don't find it, I guess I'll just give up. Well, it could be interesting. I mean, I can't think of too many people who would probably be playing that at the same time. It'd be interesting if only to explore it and see what it really is about. I'm sure there aren't too many people who really know how deep hidden object puzzles can get, let alone how sort of really busy the development market for it is. I watched a documentary about how many different people actually work on hidden object games and how many different companies are out there doing it, and it's pretty insane. There's just so many. Where is this stupid ghost? Well, people have a definite interest in horror. And I mean, it is Halloween. If you branded your thing right, you could probably get a bunch of people watching at once just looking for something kind of vaguely spooky. Where? There's another gift from the Sky Gods. But no spirits. And we only have 4, so there's clearly one we're missing. Come on. Come on. Oh. Wait. Oh. Well, I definitely see it being like a sort of like horror themed Shy Guy. I'm not sure it's creepy, but I definitely could see it sort of being considered horror-ish, certainly. But you know, the important thing is it's yours and you're happy with it. If that's what you consider to be the thing that represents you, then go for it. I am getting unbelievably pissed off about this. Where is this damn thing? I think a lot of people on the internet are kind of shy in person. That's sort of part of what makes the internet and sort of, you know, the sort of renown you get for being on the internet sort of so magical is it's a place for people that have a hard time finding a place for themselves to fit in. You know, so I could kind of see a lot of people being shy and stuff. I mean, I'm horribly, horribly shy and an introvert and stuff. I mean, hell, until I was, 23 or so and I started doing this, I was a complete mute just because I didn't want to talk to people. I basically had to teach myself how to speak in order to do this. And, I get that I have sort of like a lot of verbal loading words and stuff. I know a lot of people do, but I know I've got a bit of a sort of stutter every now and then, which I wasn't really aware of until I had to like manually edit myself a bunch, but I think all things considered I do pretty well. Considering I spent, 2/3 of my life up to this point at least, just never talking. I think I do alright. But you're putting yourself out there in some way, shape, or form, so that's gotta help at least a little bit. I mean, I say that, but every time I stream, like before I stream or even just record a video, I like have to take 10 minutes just because I'm panicking. That's a flower, isn't it? But that's also because I'm a ridiculously anxious person. Oh, there's something I can dig up. Maybe that's a spirit. That would be just in the ground, but maybe. Or it's a gyroid. We got 3 gyroids and they were all lamantoids. Awesome. Well, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, and I think it'll help. At least a little bit, get you out of your shell a little bit more. I mean, that's sort of the beauty of this. It allows you to try and put yourself out there and be a little bit more confident without having to, push a little bit too much. I have, like, the worst memory ever. Sometimes I can, like, the best thing I have a memory for is games, but I just have a terrible memory. I forget things from, like, day to day, hour to hour. Memory like a sieve. Alright, well, I don't think there's any ghosts in our house. I think we can rule that out. And we've checked every other acre. So I think that's going to be it for tonight. I know I got to finish some stuff, hopefully finish the file transfer and try and put some videos live. And like I said, I should probably go to bed soon because I got to go get a flu shot tomorrow, and oh god, I'm dreading that. Oh, crap. But that will be it for tonight. I will hopefully be back tomorrow, although again, I did this over the course of 2 days because I might not, because I just react really bad to shots usually. Anyway. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, follow the stream to know when we go live, because we do this every single night, plus other stuff when we have time. And I also have a YouTube channel you might want to check out with over 1,000 videos waiting just for you. Not just Animal Crossing, mind you, but pretty much any type of game. And we are adding new episodes to that pretty much every other day, although last week has been kind of non-existent just because my computer is kind of broke trying to process a broken memory card. That's been a weirdly arduous task. And if you really want to make my day, help support the show on its Patreon or PayPal, and you'll get yourself on the Discord where we can talk about awesome things and less awesome things, like when spirits somehow spawn on the train tracks or over the water or in walls, or they don't spawn at all and you can't figure out where they are. That's not so fun. But we did make a lot of bells today. So that's a good thing, because coelacanths are awesome. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Peace out, Internet.